Welcome to another video of What's for Dinner. Today was a no school day, superintendent's day thing with the kids for school today. So usually when there's no school, I usually let my son pick the meal. And today he picked hot dogs and homemade mac and cheese. So let's get started. So I have my water on the stove with some seasoned salt. Got my noodles on the side waiting to go in. Have my ingredients on the back, my fabulous salt and pepper lightsaber grinders. Got my milk, my flour. Gotta grab the butter from the fridge. And of course a mixture of white and orange cheddar. We only use two different kinds of cheeses. We have someone in the house who's very extremely lactose intolerant, so I have to go easy on the cheese. And over here we have the air fryer heating up we're going to be trying for the first time rotisserie style hot dogs in there. So we'll see how that goes. The noodles are now in the pot. My oven's preheated and ready to go. And as soon as the noodles are done, we'll get started on the cheese sauce. So with the noodles, you don't want them all the way down. You want them about halfway, or a little bit more than halfway, so that way when you bake it in the oven, it doesn't turn to mush. For yesterday's video, when I did the homemade marinades, it took me a lot of time and trial to determine which wine vinegars to use for the marinade. It took me a little bit. Now I finally realized that red wine vinegar works best with beef, and white wine vinegar usually works best with chicken or pork. Now, your seasonings, see, I fluctuate with my seasonings. You always want some kind of vinegar and an oil base. And then the rest of it is just extra flavoring. And then, of course, you want to pick your seasoning. Whatever seasoning you want to put in it. Just for FYI, if you tend to use the Grill Mates, go easy because the salt and those things go high pretty quickly. And for the first video, when I forgot to mention, I lost my train of thought there when I was staying quiet. I forgot what I was thinking and just got quiet. I do that a lot. But with Salisbury steaks, you want to be careful with your seasonings, because Salisbury steaks tends to go from like just on the rise, like the borderline for just right and too saucy. The line for Salisbury steaks is like this small. So that's why and actually they turned out really good, like they usually do. You could cut them with a fork, and they turned out really good. It's one of my family's favorite meals that I make. That and my homemade mac and cheese. I mean, I don't make my mac and cheese like everybody else. I don't put a whole heck of a lot of seasonings in it because I just like the taste of mac and cheese. I don't like the taste of all the other seasonings like garlic and stuff. Plus, it also tends to upset my stomach. So I just stick with, I boil my noodles in chicken broth. I don't do water. I use seasoned salt instead of actual salt for the pot, for the noodles. And I'll try a noodle when they're ready and see if it needs more salt, because sometimes I'll add a little bit more salt to the noodles and mix it up before I add it into the cheese sauce, because it makes the salting part a little easier on me. And when I do my cheese sauce, obviously I start with well, that reminds me, I gotta grab the butter from the fridge. But I start with like a roux base. You know, I'll use a full stick of butter, which is usually like 8 tablespoons of butter, 8 tablespoons of flour, and whisk it up, and it's usually like a creamy roux. Now there is a difference between using stick butter and like your country crock margarine or whatever you guys have for margarine. When you do the roux with margarine, it's gonna be like thick. So the roux is gonna turn really thick and clumpy. When you use real butter, it's creamy. But it doesn't matter what kind of roux you use, because it's still gonna turn out the same. It's just about a matter of balance. Sometimes when the roux comes out too thick, I just add a little bit of milk or water to it to thin it out, or a little bit more butter. There you go, that'd probably be better. Just add a little bit more butter. but it might just, actually, I don't know. I've never played with it to figure out what the best would be. I've just always just gone with the flow. Alrighty, these are just about done. It's time to strain them, let them dry, and then onto the cheese sauce. And we're still waiting on the air fryer. That thing takes like a good hour to heat up, and it's kind of a good thing rotisserie hot dogs don't take long. They take like 8 minutes on there. So we'll be back. Alright, so now we're going to get started on the cheese sauce. When I use stick butter, I tend to use unsalted because I like to add my own salt to it. As you guys know, I have a heart condition that where I have to watch my salt level. So naturally I can't have a lot of salt. This is what the roux should look like. Now we're going to move the phone back for one. We're going to add the milk. We're going to bring that up to a boil, up to a slow but until it starts. We're going to heat this up until it starts to slowly start bubbling and thickening right up before we add our cheeses. And then taste as you go along and add salt in moderation as you need it. This part with the roux, with the milk and the roux sauce doesn't really take long. I think that's an indication that my rotisserie is ready. I'm going to turn this down to low, and I'm going to slowly add my cheese in a little bit at a time and mix it up. And that's my son coming inside from playing. Cheese sauce is a little on the thick side, so we're just going to add in a little bit more milk to thin her out. It's about at the right consistency. And add some salt. And turn that off. I don't want it cooking any more than what it is. And then add some pepper. These are the white soaks and salt and pepper. Sometimes all you need is simple. You don't need to go crazy. We'll definitely not be cooking hot dogs in the air fryer like originally planned. I will fry them on the stove instead. But I ain't gonna show you that because come on, it's hot dogs. I just sprayed the inside of my pan to keep the macaroni and cheese from sticking. Then we're just going to move this over into this pan, load it with some cheese on top, put some salt and pepper on top, put it in the oven. This is what it looks like. I'm going to put it in the oven on 425 for about 20 minutes, and then at some point in there, I will start the hot dogs. See you in a few. It's all set. My son has his plate, so let me show you dinner. Hot dogs. Here's the mac and cheese. It's creamier than it looks. There we have it. And as you can see, it's definitely a hit because his hot dogs were gone before I even sat down. Just like that, another simple meal right at home. And remember, you don't have to have a high fancy meal that requires a lot of ingredients and complicated recipes. Simple could be simple as hot dogs, mac and cheese, hot dogs and chips, maybe some veggies, corn on the cob or something like that. I just didn't want veggies tonight. But all that matters is that you and your family are fed. That is all that matters. You have a nice night. Tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, I will not be posting videos. I'll be enjoying my family time. Great. You have a nice weekend and see you on Monday.